The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good day, Bermuda. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert, and we are ready to bring you some feel good vibes this morning. Today, we are having a conversation with Alexis Swan of Frequency Crystals. We are going to be discussing holistic healing, how you can reconnect with nature and crystals to improve your spiritual well-being. Our feel good vibe of the day features an entry into the Hood Olympics, so you want to make sure you stick around to the end of the episode to see that. But before we get into all of that, let's start with our feel good warm-up. And part of our feel good warm-up is, yes, we do know that we missed you all yesterday. Good morning to you, Sean Smith, and good morning to Kivane Haynes as well. Yesterday, Mercury was Mercurying and technology was not on our side, but we are back today. And we did want to pick up from our conversation on Tuesday to kind of start off our feel good warm up. So we have an audience member shout out to Janae Pereira Ednis. We talked on Tuesday about couples traveling, and we shared the scenario where there was a boyfriend who made almost 3 times as much as his girlfriend. They went on a family vacation and the girlfriend couldn't really afford it. And so one of the questions that we got from the audience was, do you think, one of the audience members had mentioned, you know, should she have gone on the trip if she had to get a second job to afford it? And one of the comments that we got from Janae was that, yes, why not? When you go on vacation, you want to live your best life and have the best experiences. Extra money can't hurt. So if you were not a part of that conversation on Tuesday and you missed that, you can go ahead and let us know in the comments your thoughts on that. But we are going to switch gears a bit for today's Feel Good warm up, which is kind of similar, I guess. It's in the same kind of conversation, and it's related to the Bill Cosby sentencing. So if you did not know, Bill Cosby's sentence has been overturned by a Pennsylvania appeals court. The decision was made to set him free after his lawyer, I guess, team or his lawyers, maybe just one lawyer was really good, but they overturned it. And so he was originally sentenced. I don't know how long he was sentenced for, to be quite honest, because I wasn't really too interested on the time that he got. For me, it was more around the conversation of, like, you know, did he do it? Did he not do it? Are they just trying to bring a black man down? Or are they trying to get justice to be served? All of that was more of what I was focused on. So let us know in the comments if you even knew that his sexual assault sentencing had been overturned, and what are your thoughts on it? Jack and I are going to obviously start that conversation for you, and then we would love to hear from the audience what you think of it. So Jack, I shared it with you yesterday. What were your thoughts?
I was like, yikes, this is going to stir a lot of commotion, because obviously you have some people of the Black community that are just like, oh, once again, they're bringing down our people. And then you have some people that's just like, right is right and wrong is wrong. And regardless of the situation, you have to serve your time. And so you see that his co-star was trying to get in there and defend him. And it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, because of course you grew up watching Bill Cosby, and then you see these certain things that he was trying to accomplish, and for this to happen, it's crazy. Because I kind of watched the trial. I didn't watch it entirely, but of course it's hard to not say you're excited that his, like, a little bit of excitement that he's out, because, you know, there are people that don't look like us that are doing the same things, that are out and walking about. You even had the former president that was assaulting people, and you don't see anything happening to him. So it's just like, once again, you'll get to move the goalpost and then our people get put back. But if he did it at the same time, you have to serve your time. Like, we can't keep defending you if you're going to go out there and make us look stupid. Like, honestly, keep it together.
Agree. So, let us know in the comments your thoughts. I will say that, so I ended up talking about it with my mom yesterday. She's in Bill Cosby's generation, so I wouldn't say they're the same age, but like, you know, they came up around the same time. And I remember just talking to her about it, and I remember saying, like, it sounds like you're victim blaming. Like, I'm not giving the lady an excuse for, you know, waiting as long as she waited to kind of come forward and all of that stuff. But I was like, the tone that in which you're talking, it's coming across as victim blaming. And I feel like I don't want us to do that, because I then feel like if there is a true victim, whether they say it was a true victim or not, I can't speak to that. But when true victims are, you know, raped, or they feel like they're violated, they don't come forth, and then you have the cycle repeating itself. But to your point, because I did want to talk about how you mentioned like Donald Trump, like, he is so blatant about some of the things that he would say, and it's like, oh, that's just him, that's just how he talks. But to your point, the minute it's someone of color, we won't even just say black, the minute it's someone of color, whether they are full black, half black, yellow, it's like, oh, it's a big deal. And I just think it's unfortunate, because Bill Cosby was probably everybody's dad. Like, back in the day, like, for those people that watched that show and maybe didn't have a father figure, he represented so much for them. And then for his career to kind of go downhill off of this one incident, and just how people were like, oh my God, Black Twitter and Bermuda Twitter are definitely two Twitters you do not want to aggravate. You don't want to make them angry. You don't want to get on their bad side, because we have this comment here from Sean Smith. He says he saw it this morning on Twitter, but to be honest, he really didn't follow the case, so he really doesn't have an opinion. And that's fair, because I feel like it's also one of those things, it's like, it's not your life. So how can you really follow it? I mean, yes, Bill Cosby was an actor that a lot of us knew back in the day. I mean, feel like we know his character, Bill Cosby, but do you know Bill Cosby, the person? And I feel like that's where, when we have like the Black Twitter pop off or the Burmy Twitter pop off, I feel like that's where like the disconnect is for me in some of those conversations, because it's like, you don't know what they do personally, so you don't know what he does behind closed doors.
Right.
And so
and of course, a lot of these stuff that the time that they grew, well, the time that all of these incidents were said to have happened, that's around the era where you grew up knowing that not your parents, but your parents said it was a wild time. Everybody was doing drugs, everybody was doing this, and it's just like, it definitely changes the way you look at Bill Cosby, and it's like, geez, you were our father figure, and then like if it is true, and a lot of people are saying it's true, you took advantage of somebody's trust. Right? So him being overturned, it's not a comforting thing at all, because like, what's the procedure after this? Is he going to be continuously watched? Like, does he go on the predator list?
Yeah, we actually have this comment here from Q1A Haynes, which is actually pretty big, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Jack, you want to go ahead and read it?
Sure. Yes, I saw the pop-up from news outlets when it was overturned, both when he was convicted and when it was overturned. I didn't feel either way. If he did it, he should serve the time. If he didn't, he should be released. I don't care if he is a celebrity, but I feel for all the alleged victims, if it really did happen. Absolutely. Like, can you imagine that you finally came forward after all these years? You put the fear to the side, and you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go and be strong, and then this happens. Like, you might as well just stay quiet, because now what? You already changed your life to step forward and fight for your justice, and for this just to get overturned so easily.
Yeah, it's like double. It's like getting traumatized twice. If like, you know, the situation did happen, it's like getting traumatized twice. We had this comment or question from Jamal: Cliff Huxtable or Bill Cosby? So yes, the character Cliff Huxtable was probably most person's father figure back then, if they didn't have one, and even if you did have one, right? Like, you kind of like wished your dad was like Cliff Huxtable. But yeah, to your point, we don't know Bill Cosby, the person, what he was like behind closed doors versus who we saw Cliff Huxtable be on TV. And then we have this one final comment before we get into our conversation with Alexis, Jack.
Okay, my position when trial was taking place was we don't know the person exactly. Most of what we know is the actor. However, his philanthropy, work spoke to his character to a degree.
Yeah, so that comment comes from Karen Edwards Simmons. So yes, I agree. And I actually went to Spelman College, and his wife, they donated a substantial amount of money to Spelman College. There's actually a building named after her. And I remember when this case, like when there was like it started, there was conversation around, do we give the money back? Like, how does this work? And I remember for me, that kind of made me feel uncomfortable because I'm like, well, it's not him, it was his wife. And so like now it's getting into a point where you're like, you're now, everything's so intertwined that you can't separate the man from all of the other work, which it's hard to do that because we're people, right? We're humans. And so we definitely like to judge others. But on that note, I think it actually kind of ties into this conversation because when you talk about healing, all of us have some type of healing that we need to do, male and female. And so we're having a conversation with Alexis Swan of Frequency Crystals right now. I'm actually going to bring her into the studio. Hey, Alexis.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, listening audience.
So we are excited to have this conversation with you, Lex. And if you guys hear me call Alexis Lex, that's because I actually know her in real life. So, and that's what I call her. So Alexis, for those that don't know about you, your brand, Frequency Crystals, or holistic healing in general, tell us about your journey.
So I actually have been raised in a very spiritual household. Grew up with a mom that was Buddhist. So it's kind of always been embedded in me. I will say that I didn't just stick to that way of life. I had the opportunity to go to church with my grandparents. I've been to Seventh-day Adventist churches with friends. So I've been exposed to quite a bit when it comes to religion. But spirituality in terms of not having religion attached to it was always more comfortable for me. It allowed me to kind of have a better flow and just kind of get to know myself a lot better. So about 4 years ago, I launched Frequency Crystals, and that came with time because it was something that I always wanted to do. Wanted to have like something that I could offer because I loved what it was doing for me. But yeah, I ended up doing that, and I'm still doing it, and I've added another component to it as well, which Terri, you're aware of. So yeah, it's been a really great time. And you know, I believe that you have to do things when it's the right time. I had a lot of experience with dealing with shamans and sweat lodge in the Bermuda community. My mom and I have been doing that for over 20 years. So I've had a lot of background, and it was the right time to bring it forth.
So holistic healing, spirituality is not your traditional way of living. Well, not for you, but for some people. What are some of the misconceptions that you've had to deal with over the years?
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Where do I begin? I'm atheist, or I don't believe in anything. Oh, God, it's been brutal. I'm a bitch. It's been a bit rough, to be quite honest with you. You know, in Bermuda, we come from such a strong religious background, and I've seen the worst of the worst comments. So there's a lot of misconceptions, but I would say spirituality is more of a freer way of thinking. It allows you to kind of shift into what it is that aligns you with your authentic self without it being dictated to, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, because I always consider myself a spiritualist, because they'll be like, what's your religion? And honestly, on paper, I'm a non-practicing Catholic. So I was born into a Catholic family, but my mom was just like, not really, because my grandfather would take us to drop. He was a taxi driver. So naturally, he was a part of the community. So every week he'd be like, come on, Jack, Crystal, Tara, we're going to go for a drive. And next thing you know, we're at like a Seventh-day Adventist church. And we're like, so I prefer the spirituality part because like I said, like you, I experience a lot of different religions. But on that note, how do we change that narrative, that misconception? How do we educate people so that they are more in tune?
Yeah, so this is a really good point that you've raised, because at one point I was actually posting quite a bit on Frequency Crystals social media page of the crystals, how to use them, this, that, and the other. And then I realized over time, having so many clients, that people really had deeper questions and deeper things that they wanted to kind of tap into, and I was like, you know what, I got to put more information out there. And then if someone feels that it's more aligned, then they will ask the questions and just go. But I don't believe we should force people. We should just kind of provide the information. So I changed the way in which I was marketing my healing services and stuff like that. Because crystals are beautiful. They are excellent tools to have, but that's not the only thing that heals you. You have to actually do the work. So, yeah, I mean, I just say that when people know it's time, they will just know, and then they will go searching. And this is at no disrespect to anyone who is religious, because I have a lot of religious friends, but I do believe that I spent quite a bit of time reading things and pretty much putting the pieces to the puzzle together to then draw my own assumption and say that didn't feel right. I need to come over this side. So I encourage people to not be pressured by religion or spirituality. Just do what feels right for you.
Absolutely. And actually, before we get into the next question, Jack, I do want to remind the audience, if you have any questions for Alexis or if you have any comments, make sure you drop them in the comment section and we will bring them into the conversation. Go ahead, Jack.
If not, I'll steal the show and I'll ask all my questions.
Sure. And you all know, if this is your first show, get ready. But those of you that have been here with us from the beginning, Jackie will find more questions to ask if y'all don't ask any.
No, seriously, you're just like my clients. And I'm like, I want to be a client. I need help because I am a beginner. Like, I want crystals collection. I wear them. Like, that's as far as it goes for me. And I don't know, like you said, this crystal to use that. And where do I start? Like, what crystals? Do you have a starter pack?
So, what I normally do is when someone is kind of looking to see what it is, like they're like you, I don't know what to do. I did a little ebook about 2 years ago. I think it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, that kind of gave you the whole breakdown of how this all works. The moon, the how to cleanse them, your chakras, the frequencies, the crystals for each component that you could be dealing with, from grief to anxiety to health issues. And so what I will say is, don't be overwhelmed. When I send people to the shop in Bermuda, or even when I have clients, come to see me in person, I just say, go to what you're drawn to, because we can say that there's a crystal starter pack. Amethyst, rose quartz, clear quartz are normally the ones that people start out with. But I have switched that narrative to say, go in and feel what you are drawn to. And then when you pick that crystal, find out what chakra it's related to, find out the components of, the history of it, what it actually can do for you. And then it will probably bring you in alignment to exactly what it is that you've been trying to work on, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, because I go on your website every day, Ask Terri, and I'm like, this one's pretty. I think I need this one. It's me. I'm sorry. No, but hearing you say, go and like basically feel the crystals, it's almost like, I hope this doesn't sound bad, going to the pet store or going and finding the puppy that you connect with the most and saying, okay, this is the one, and taking it home. Now, to slightly switch gears, because I think I've got it with the crystals. Come in and, try them on. But when it comes to meditation, because meditation, obviously with the world, it helps with anxiety, it helps you realign, but you do guided meditation.
Yes. And I do it with the person. Like, I actually tune in and just do it along with them, because I can't read off of a script when I do it.
I love it. So during the pandemic, I know I'm switching gears, I still have questions. With the pandemic, doing guided meditations, doing all these healing stuff, how was it trying to do it virtually? Because you couldn't really go and be with the person.
So I actually offer distance crystal healing and distance Reiki sessions. I do readings and spiritual guidance. So this was nothing new to me. But I will be honest with you that it was very heavy at times. Like I would get off the live and literally would not be able to go to sleep.
Oh my
So, because people, even though we see the world kind of going back to normal a bit, people are so anxiety ridden. It's really, really bad. And, you know, we're having to adjust in so many different ways, but it was okay. It was okay to do it. I just kind of, it's like you want to give more to help more because you can really feel the energy. Even though people, I could see people coming up on the live and stuff like that, and I'll be like, okay, but I was tuning in to those people that I saw coming in prior to me actually doing the meditation. I mean, and I could tune in one time and I'm like, oh God, I know that I could feel it. I know what they're here for, you know?
Oh my gosh. So I do have to ask, do I give off anxiety or anything? Like as we're here right now?
Client confidentiality says offline.
I had to ask because I work with a lot of different people, so I constantly take on energies as well. So like for somebody like myself that's always interacting with different energies, different people, and I consider myself to also be an empath, what are some techniques that I can use, not just at the end of the day, but throughout the day in between probably clients? Is there anything that I can do to?
So yeah, there's a lot that you can do. You can do kind of almost like I don't know if you're familiar with like just kind of sitting there. You don't need to meditate out in the fields or you know in front of your altar. You can actually do meditation sitting down, even if it's for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You can do a quick power meditation. And that's just kind of, you know, visualizing a protective shield around the body because of your aura. Your aura has layers. And your aura is affected by the environment in which you're in, foods, everything like that, right? So you can actually just visualize that yellow light surrounding you for protection, cleansing, cleansing you of any energy. And another tool that I suggest, you know, when you think of people in Bermuda, when it comes to lunch breaks, everyone's always meeting up with friends and they're, you know, going all over the place to restaurants and different things like that. But I encourage people to actually do some level of earthing during their lunch break. Even if it's twice a week or 3 times a week, like go to the park and actually take your shoes off and ground yourself and then go back to work so that you're in a completely different zone.
That's awesome. And actually, you have an audience question that is actually going to tie to that, but I do want to just share my personal story on that because, as I mentioned, I do know Alexis personally, and I've recently gone back into the office a couple of days a week. And so this week, Monday, I checked out this new spot for food. It's right near my job. For those that don't know, I do work at the only electrolyte company here. And so it was a really short walk. So like, it wasn't that far. I got my food and I came back, and in the summertime, I love to sit outside because it's really nice weather. And we have like a little area where I can sit down. I didn't take off my shoes this go round because I am like the weird girl in IT that does things that non-IT people do. Like I go outside, sit out and read a book, but I was playing Sudoku. And I remember thinking like, I'm just getting recharged by the sun by sitting outside, and it feels so good. And you just see people like, you know, still sitting at their desk, eating their lunches, and you can kind of feel the pressure from some people because they're so sitting at they're stuck to their desk, like they're chained. And so we have this question here from Sean Smith. He said he stepped away for a minute, but he wanted to know what were you doing professionally before you decided to start your business on self-healing? And did that have any influence on you to take this path? He does wish you all the success.
Oh, wonderful. Do I have to like describe my path? So I was in the insurance industry for 9 years. Went into politics. I was a senator and a junior minister. And then I went into human resources. And human resources, I was actually able to present to the CEO meditation. And I used to do meditation as the HR person at the bank. So that was my past life. And do I miss it? No. What it did was, it was very important for me to have those things prior to fully coming out on my own. And I'll tell you why. Because it exposed me to some of the things that people are struggling with. So when I have clients coming to me and they're like, I feel like I have no soul purpose, I don't know what I'm here to do. It's easy for me to say, well, being in the matrix, as I call it, distracts you from being able to see your true self. And if you are doing spiritual practices and you've kind of become disciplined and you set a boundary with the workplace, then you're good. But some people are really struggling and they don't understand why. And you're around all this radiation all day, you're around cell phones, it's just everything. And it becomes it throws off your balance, So this was really, really important for me to have that, the insurance experience. Politics, that was really important to have. And yeah, so it wasn't, it's not something that I would say I was angry about, because I went to school I have my master's in international business management. I did all of that, but then I leaned more towards getting qualified in the things that I really and truly love to do.
That's awesome.
I just keep thinking about how you had to work HR and the amount of emails you must get a day complaining, and you're trying to mediate, and that's a lot. Yeah.
Like, go grab a crystal, go sit in the bathroom. This is what I used to tell my employees. It was so bad I used to get in trouble, because I used to say, go and sit in the bathroom for 10 minutes and put the toilet seat down and sit there and ground yourself. Because it's not normal to sit at a desk for all of these hours. It's just not okay.
So some people will go towards.
Anyone fired, by the way, this morning?
No, I highly doubt it. I mean, most people are just getting back to work, so their routines are off anyway. So a little 10-minute to catch themselves. I do have friends that have gotten back to work, and I'm like, how are you making out? And they're just like, honestly, I wish I was working from home, because it was a lot better for their mental state and even the productivity, because most times they have the TV on in the background and they're getting work done. So it's like a healthy, it ends up balancing itself out, right? Because you're entertained, but also getting work done, versus if you're at the office, you're literally just working and there's no entertainment, and then the stress comes on and you're just like, why am I here? Whereas if you're at home, you have the TV on and kind of like distraction, you're just getting the work done, because you're just like, yeah. But I want to this is probably a weird question, but some people obviously that are religious, they're into prayer. Would you consider prayer also along the same lines as meditation?
Most definitely. I use the word prayer all the time. Meditation prayers is what I call them. It's interesting, because we can go on about religion for the rest of our lives, but there are a lot of things that religions do that are very similar to not people who are not religious, but still live a life almost identical to what religion says. It's just not dictated. I don't refer to a daily book. I maybe go to look at quotes or read books about myself almost. It's like I want to know about my DNA, about my frequencies. That's like my Bible, right? But yeah, I would say that there's a lot of similarities, and interestingly enough, there's a lot within the Bible as well that kind of leans towards they talk about the crystals, and there's some comparisons even with like chakras. It's so many different things. That's why I ask people, like, it's always good to kind of like, even if you are leaning towards spirituality, get to know other religions as well, so that when you're having conversations with your family and your friends, you kind of can show them that, hey, listen, just because I'm spiritual doesn't mean that I don't have understanding of what you do.
Absolutely. And so earlier you mentioned that you were raised Buddhist, but you had been exposed to other religions, which you kind of just spoke about as well. We have this question from Nicole Walker. She asks, how much influence has your mom, being a naturopath, played in your current path?
Oh, a huge path. I would say that the advantage that I had with my mom is that she kind of let me go to the churches and do different things like that. She never ever pressured me. Her being a naturopath, though, opened my eyes to so many different modalities. And even though I was eating like chicken and red meat at one point in my life, she didn't judge me on that. She was just like, you need to get off that stuff. You know what I mean? And I realized over time, even though she was saying that, she was also showing me why. She was explaining to me about just the trauma that animals will go through. And then we kind of take that all in. And then we're wondering why we're feeling off edge. So her influence as a naturopath showing me a more holistic way of life is really important. And even with down to what I use on my body, all of that sort of stuff is a huge role. I connect more to using authentic products. I actually have a spiritual self-care line that I just did. So all of this plays a part. It's actually been really beautiful to have that and refer to her books all the time too. But I just need to quickly find out about her.
That is awesome. And so, Lex, this conversation has been great. I know, Alexis, excuse me. This conversation has been great. And earlier you did mention the ebook that you have put out as well. So before you get up out of here, for those of the listening audience that are wanting to start their self-healing journey, they're wanting to maybe tap into the idea of spirituality in connection with the religion, or just as something because they've never done anything spiritual or religious before, how can they contact you and learn more about your services? And can you speak more about that ebook and where they can maybe purchase it or download it if it's available?
Yeah, so it's on the website frequencycrystals.com. And that's the crystals that I have. Like, you can find the ebook on there. You can find some crystals on there, but then they can also go to the shop if they're looking for like more of like the sages, the incense, all of that sort of stuff. And when it comes to the services, they can definitely, you can book online for services, or just shoot me a DM and we'll work out payment arrangements or whatnot. And then, yeah, I mean, that's the best way to kind of go about it.
And what's the Instagram?
Yeah, the Instagram is Frequency Crystals. So, yeah, it's, people can either email me, they can send me their numbers, I can add them onto WhatsApp, whatever is easier for everybody. I'm very responsive.
And about that WhatsApp, y'all, she be on that WhatsApp. Like I have her on WhatsApp, and let me tell you. So for those that don't know, actually, we forgot to kind of mention this before you get up out of here, that Alexis is in the UK. So she's 4 hours ahead of us. And so my days usually wrap up around 5, 6 o'clock. And that's when I'm like, de-stressing or decompressing. And like, now I'm like trying to like, maybe do my own spiritual practice. And I'll be texting Alexis, and then I'll be forgetting that she's in the UK, and like, it's 9 o'clock, or it's like 8 o'clock that I'm getting ready to text. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 12 o'clock. And then she just pops back up and responds. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I do try to be considerate, but just so that she is going to respond to you if you do happen to pick maybe not so nice time in the day, antisocial time of the day. She will definitely reach out to you. So she is available.
People do have things that come up all the time, crisis and everything else. I do shut my phone off before I go to sleep, though. So if you do catch me before I do that, I'm definitely here. You won't be the first or the last that I've had to deal with that. So yeah. And
then we actually have one last question, Lex, before you get out of here. Yeah. Sean Smith wants to know, do you ship inside of Europe?
I ship worldwide, and it's free shipping for anything that's online. And that goes for both Frequency Crystals and the spiritual self-care one as well. So ship all over the place.
Perfect. So if you do, make sure you head over to her website. We dropped that in the comments for you, as well as her Instagram. So make sure you check out the website and follow her on social media. Lax, once again, thank you for joining us, and we're excited for this convo. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
See you later.
Bye.
I'm so excited to start my journey.
I feel like after this show, Jackie will be on the website regardless, but Jackie's like, now her card, she's going to be like, okay, order now.
Yep. I'm ready.
Let us know in the comments what you thought of today's conversation with Alexis Swan of Frequency Crystals. If you enjoyed that conversation, make sure you hit the like button. If you're on Facebook, give us some hearts. do the reaction, the care reaction. I really like the care reaction with the heart, even though people used to use it for like, if there's like sad news, but they don't want to like it, but they want to love it. It's kind of like sending like a hug. I like using it just because I feel like that's like,
I feel like I hug to celebrate. I'm like, oh my God, hugs. So I use it for everything. I use it for everything. Sometimes I
love that emoji. And so today is Thursday. We talk about health and wellness on Thursdays. Technically, Jack and I are supposed to be showing y'all our latest addition to the fitness challenge, but we decided that after 4 weeks of going hard, we're going to give y'all a rest week. So this week you have time to catch up. But if this is the first time you're hearing about our fitness challenge, every day for a week, we invite you to participate in doing a physical activity. The first week we did this, it was a push-up challenge. The second week we added skipping. Third week we added planks, and last week we added squats. So this week you have a rest week. So we're not adding a new activity, but we do encourage you to participate and do each one of those activities at least one set. And we have posted on our social media what the different categories, as you can say, are for the beginners, up to 10 reps. For if you're having to do like squats, if you can get up to 10, you're a beginner, and also up to a minute. So for skipping and maybe holding a plank, if you can do that for up to a minute, we consider you to be a beginner. Intermediate would be up to 20 or up to 2 minutes. So for any physical activity, if you can do it up to 20 times or 2 minutes, you're an intermediate person. And then advanced, those overachievers, those are folks that are doing them 21 or more reps and doing it for more than 2 minutes. So let us know in the comments if you have been participating in the fitness challenge, because we haven't seen y'all tagging us on social media. So we think you're doing it behind the scenes, which is okay. And that's fine. Awesome. We know you love watching Jacky and I trying to show y'all how we do. We don't know if we have proper form all the time, so don't charge it to our heads, charge it to our hearts. We're just trying to encourage y'all to join us in this challenge with us. And we want to keep y'all active because, as Alexis mentioned, just grounding yourself with nature is one thing, but also doing physical activity is another way for you to meditate and just reconnect with your own spirit and just, take time. So do let us know in the comments if you are participating in the fitness challenge. Actually, Jack, we didn't talk about this before we got on the show. So I need to know, have you been keeping up this week with the squats?
Yes, and it still hurts, you lot. Like, at what point does the pain subside? I push through, I massage, I stretch, and I'm still sitting here. And I'm supposed to be starting a tournament. What's today? On Saturday. I need to recover.
I definitely think that over time, as you do more and more, it does get easier. I can speak from experience from my running. I can't speak from my experience on the fitness challenge because it is. I too feel the pain, and I'm like, when is it gonna end? But I know for my running, I'm like 4 or 5 weeks into my training program, and I definitely have noticed it's getting easier. So I would say maybe next week we'll be like feeling like, all right, we're some fitness champs with maybe the push-ups and the skipping, not necessarily the planks and the squats yet. Yeah. We have this comment here from Sean Smith, Jack.
I'm doing plenty of bicep curls with cookies into my mouth. I did that yesterday. I was just like, Mom made some butterscotch cookies, and I was just like, yum.
Awesome. Thank you for that laugh, Sean Smith, because that's actually not our Feel Good Vibe of the day, but it definitely is a great segue. Before we get into today's Feel Good Vibe of the day, do make sure you head over to the Daily Hour at 8 a.m. where Jamal and Michaela will be having a conversation with Ebony Souza to discuss saving our restaurants. Now, today's Feel Good Vibe is by our good friend, Mr. Sean Smith, none other than him. And so it's the Hood Olympics. So if you are not familiar with the Hood Olympics, don't worry, we got you covered. Jacky and I are going to show you about that. She actually hasn't seen it yet, so we're going to play it for her for the first time, and we'll see if she gives us the same Sean Smith laugh.
Good day. Welcome back to Hood Diving. Right now we have BJ up on the diving board, ready to take his jump. BJ is a water truck driver, so he knows a lot about water. Prepping himself. I need the audience to be very quiet before he jumps. No! That was last week, and here he comes to break it. He was trying to do a backflip. I don't know what happened, but let's look at the replay on that. Yeah, from the start, he looked like a seasoned diver. He had the arms fully extended like a swan. I was really expecting something spectacular. He went from a swan to a crippled frog.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, today's Feel Good Vibe. As always, we hope that after seeing today's Feel Good Vibe of the day, you are ready to make it a great one. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert. We trust that we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until the next episode, peace and have a good day, Bermuda.